UFC Fight Night Vegas 94, Lemos versus Jandiroba just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main events, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Mohammed Usman versus Thomas Petersen. I mean, talk about being garbage. Both of them are. As a logical human being, I went bad on picks tonight because I'm a logical human with a brain and a high IQ. Therefore, I'm bad at predicting MMA fights this year. Thomas Petersen wins the fight. He wins it by grappling, mixing in the takedowns in rounds 2 and 3, getting busy in the clinch on Mo Usman here and there, better shots at range. I mean, Mo Usman is just a terrified man. I thought that he would just have the talent to beat Petersen because, again, Thomas Petersen is just a fat guy. Like, he's not a good MMA fighter. He's a random fat guy. He can grapple a bit, but I didn't think he'd be able to grapple with Mo Usman. And to be fair, he typically couldn't, but when he did get his moments, he got his moments. And, yeah, Mo Usman should retire from combat sports because what's the point? Like, what is the point? You're in your brother's shadow. You're shit. You're apt. Like, if you don't beat Thomas Petersen, give it a quit. Like, quits on a career. If you're a heavyweight and you think you're good and you're athletic and you can't crack top 15 at this point, there's something drastically wrong. And I think that's the case with Mo Usman. Awful fighter. Terrible. Never lets his hands go. Always timid. Doesn't ever want to let his hands go or commit to certain punches. Just timid. Afraid of getting hit. Doesn't like exchanges, gets all jittery whenever someone pressures him. It was just a real eye-opener that Mo Usman's never going to be anything in his career ever and probably will be on his way to being cut by the UFC soon. Thomas Petersen gets it done, though, getting a few takedowns in rounds 2 and 3 and being busier on the feet as well. We move on. Luana Carolina versus Lucie Pudilova. I mean, Luana Carolina ended up on top position or did she? No, she didn't really. Lucie Pudilova had some takedowns, but Luana Carolina got busier on the feet, busier in the clinch, and it was a really shit fight, really. Nothing crazy happened as far as I was aware. I was watching back after the card was done. She just kind of out-hustled her in the clinch up against the cage and then did better at range on the feet, as I expected. So, Luana Carolina wins her fight over Lucie Pudilova. And logic prevails for this matchup. We move on. Loik Radzhabov versus Trey Ogden. You know what, yeah? I get why Trey Ogden got the decision. But if we really want to be annoying here, Trey Ogden's very tricky. You know, he used his grappling in this fight, ended up on top position, had a couple of submission threats as well. I think he was going for an arm triangle at one point in the second round. And, I think the submission attempts kind of saved Ogden because Loik won the third round. It's just Ogden got the second and the first. I thought Ogden won, actually. 2 rounds to 1. One judge gave him the third, which is insane. But it is what it is. Good job, Trey Ogden. Dog shit fight. Wet blanket guy. Wouldn't be surprised if they cut him anyway, even coming off a win, because he never gives entertainment. And that's what it should be about. You know, you're paying these guys money. They should entertain us as fans. But he tries not to. So, I don't know. Good win. Good tactical win. Submission attempts. Arm triangle. Nearly had it in round 2. But yeah, Loik Radzhabov just can't get past a great Trey Ogden, which is interesting. So, good job, Trey Ogden. Amazing performance. We move on. Up the card. Miranda Maverick versus Dione Barbosa. I actually was hesitating on maybe picking Trey Ogden, which annoys me now because I remember saying that in the video. Miranda Maverick, Dione Barbosa. Miranda Maverick wins, takes her down, ends up on top in enough rounds to win, just does her little stupid thing on top position with total strikes and punches here and there, better on the feet, better on the ground, nearly got subbed at one point, what the fuck ever. We move on. I picked her to win. It is easy pick, you know what I mean? This is logic. Logic prevailed. We move on. Brian Kelleher versus Cody Gibson. Cody Gibson, I picked him to win just because Kelleher hadn't had a fight that was good in a long time. And he had a bunch of spine surgery as well. And Gibson was just doing better than him on the feet. Caught him with an elbow at one point in the first round, pressuring him up against the cage. Caught him with a nasty elbow right on the temple of Kelleher, put him down badly. And eventually got the submission later on in the fight over Kelleher with the arm triangle on top position after hurting him and dropping him and ending up on top. So, really good job by Cody Gibson over Brian Kelleher, kind of expected because, again, Kelleher had not been around for a while. He got KO'd by Garbrandt the last time he fought, and other than that, he hasn't looked good, and he's had a bunch of surgeries going on, so good for Cody Gibson, I guess. We move on up the card to another fight, which was Yeong versus Hyder Amil. Now, this one was shocking to me because I picked Yeong because he's a sniper at range. Nasty striker at range, powerful dude. After he gets you hurt, he starts going in for the finish. Really dangerous finisher, better than Hyder Amil everywhere. On paper, of course, Anthony Smith would be proud of that analysis. He's better everywhere than Hyder Amil. If you watch their fights, larger, rangier, more powerful, more snappy to his shots, way better shot selection as well. But for this fight, he had downs, unfortunately. A great scrap while it lasted, though. It was fun. I don't want to be just salty about picks. It was. And you know what? The main card, probably the best fight night main card this year, I would say. Really good main card. And Hyder Amil ended up just putting together like a 30-something punch combination on Yeong, who, no joke, just left his chin up in the air and just started trading hooks back and forth in the pocket, missing all of them on like the arms and shoulders of Hyder Amil. And then both of them just started swinging at each other, and Hyder Amil was the only one landing because Yeong decided to fight the shorter, less rangy, less effective at range opponent. He decided to fight him in the pocket by swinging hooks back and forth non-stop. You're not the Korean zombie. And by the way, Seung-Woo Choi, this goes for you as well. A lot of these Korean guys, other than Do-Hoo Choi, I guess, these guys think they're TK's ear. Stop. You know what I mean? Be a tactical, rangy striker. What is going on? Silly decision-making from Yeong. Dumbest decision-making I've seen ever. Never fought like that before. But Hyder Amil puts him away. So, good job, Hyder Amil. Easier than his Fernie Garcia fight, which is insane. But again, logic doesn't prevail in this retarded downy sport. Do-Hoo Choi versus Bill Algeo. Now, Do-Hoo Choi hasn't had a win since 2016. And I actually picked him to win this one because I was thinking, of course, it's Bill Algeo. He's only beaten that absolute can, Joe Anderson Britta, who's a dogshit fighter, as we all know. So, of course, he can't beat Do-Hoo Choi. But no, but seriously. Good performance by Do-Hoo Choi. I thought Bill Algeo won the first round. I think he was grappling well. There were moments where Do-Hoo Choi nearly had him in a guillotine, but they were never really in. They were like good attempts, but they weren't ever really in. So it was just sort of like I'm going to look good while I'm being taken down type of move by Do-Hoo Choi. So Bill Algeo survived those. Maybe even you can give the first to Choi, but I thought Bill Algeo landed better shots in the first. Looked like Do-Hoo Choi was having trouble getting his range and his timing and kept getting caught by shots at the end of Bill Algeo's combinations. And then in round 2, he started doing much better stuff in the takedowns. Started landing some really good knees to the face on Bill Algeo after sort of getting a head position or getting a north-south position after the takedown got stuffed. And then Bill Algeo would have to sort of go down to one knee, and they said that they were going to actually change that rule in October, which should be fun. Other than that, though, he got caught. Bill Algeo got caught with a left hook right on the eye, shattered his orbital by the looks of things. I mean, I can't really tell what reaction that was from Bill Algeo, but it looks like he shattered his orbital. So I'm going to go with, I'm not going to go with anyone. Do-Hoo Choi won after 8 years of no wins. So really good for Do-Hoo Choi. He needed that. It can't have been 8 years. It must have been like 2018, 19. Surely. No, it's been 8 years since Do-Hoo Choi got a win in the UFC. Wow. 8 years. Holy shit. And he just pulled one off in 2024 against Bill Algeo. So, yeah, again, logic doesn't prevail in MMA. It's a retarded sport. Give yourself brain damage and start tossing a coin on some fights. But really good performance by Do-Hoo Choi after 8 years of no success. Although he did have more success than Algeo against Kyle Nelson, that is to be mentioned. But I just didn't think he'd put away Bill Algeo like that. So, really good shot. Arm punch with the left hook. Didn't even twist it over all the way. Still enough to shatter the orbital bone of Bill Algeo, which maybe could have been like pre-shattered by a knee earlier on in the fight. Who knows? Cody Durden versus Bruno Silva. Again, I picked Cody Durden. He's the better fighter out of the two of them by far. And he was dominating the fight. He was looking the best he's ever looked. Great job in the first round at range on the feet. He was even mocking Bruno Silva, and I poked him at one point but didn't follow up, which was quite generous of him. But still, he was mocking Bruno Silva because he was just lighting him up on the feet. Not crazy. Not like some crazy one-sided beatdown, but he was in control of the fight on the feet in the first round. Bruno Silva was throwing a few good leg kicks and wasn't really landing too much on the chin of Cody Durden, but Durden was landing good on the chin of Bruno Silva, had his nose a bit busted up after the first round. And then round 2, Cody Durden actually hurts Bruno Silva badly and starts going for some grappling, and he's dominating the grappling against Bruno Silva to start the round. Then they end up back on their feet after Durden fails a few submission attempts with dash chokes and guillotines and all of these things he kept jumping for, which looked like they were in, but not quite. And then boom, Bruno Silva catches him with an uppercut, puts him down, beats him up and finishes him. So out of nowhere, comeback win for Bruno Silva. Again, he hasn't won a fight in how long? I know he won one in 2023. He did win against Tyson Nam in 2023, but he's been very inactive. Injury plagued his majority of his career, and he just got his best ever win against Cody Durden. So out of nowhere, comeback win, uppercut KO. Great job by Bruno Silva. Feels bad for Cody Durden because he genuinely did look the best he's ever looked so far in his career, in my opinion. So that's tough. We move on. Up the card, Kurt Holobaugh versus Kenan Krzyzewski. Now, again, wrong on this one as well. I picked Kenan Krzyzewski because younger, more impressive record. He got KO'd by Elvis Brenner, but he took the fight on short notice. Other than that, he's been pretty good on the regional scene. Nothing too crazy, but like a capable fighter nevertheless. And Kurt Holobaugh is a guy who we know can't grapple off of his back, really. He can't at all. And so therefore, Kenan Krzyzewski, with his Down syndrome, of course, because we got to remember that has now been diagnosed after this fight has taken place. We now know he's got Downs. He threw away the fight for himself, in my opinion. Now, maybe that they could have given Kurt Holobaugh round 1, but I thought that Krzyzewski won the first round. I thought he was doing a little bit of the better work. So I actually gave the first round to Krzyzewski over Kurt Holobaugh. And that was what the judges gave him as well. They gave him that first round over Holobaugh. He was doing really good knees in the clinch, really good body shots, good shots at range. Holobaugh was landing back with his own knees and his own shots, but they just weren't as snappy as Kenan Krzyzewski, and they weren't as powerful, and they weren't as often. So round 1 I gave to Kenan Krzyzewski, and then round 2, Holobaugh starts doing really good towards the end of it. Even round to begin with, both guys going back and forth. Great fight. Might get fight of the night on the card. No, they didn't even give out a fight of the night. That sucks for them, but there you go. But yeah, great fight. Fight of the night on the card for sure. At the end of round 2, Holobaugh wobbles him and fumbles a finish by going for a takedown. He's also got Down syndrome. They all do. Every fighter does. I'm convinced of it. So he fumbles that finish with a takedown. And then round 3, I'm like, please, Kenan Krzyzewski, this guy has no double leg defense. He has no wrestling defense. He's got all of his ACLs blown out, hip problems, all of this. Old man in front of you. Shoot the takedown, ride out full guard or half guard and win the round. No. Kenan Krzyzewski, as I said, has mental difficulties. He's backwards mentally. Great scrap. Third round, very boring. So instead of securing position and just winning the round, which is what Krzyzewski very easily could have done, he decided to go for some kind of like inverted triangle off the top from the back position. Holobaugh was sort of tucked up in a ball and he jumped off the top of Holobaugh going for an inverted triangle or a triangle armbar or a Kimura maybe it could have been. I don't know what he was going for when all he needed to do was win the third round. Obviously, it was 1-1. But he was just diving off of top position because he wants to lose. So I would say cut him from the sport. Put out a fucking poster of him in every promoter's office in martial arts, everywhere across the world, and blacklist him from MMA promotions because he's throwing fights and fixing them. So great job, Kurt Holobaugh, though. He ended up on top at the end of the third and actually stayed there instead of throwing himself off. So maybe he didn't have Downs. Maybe just a bit of autism. Who knows what it was? Learning difficulties, dyslexia. Who knows? But, yeah, Kenan Krzyzewski just a dumb little fucking idiot, really. And should be cut from the sport. He's not good enough. Like, he's not got the brains for this, very clearly. Steve, a great fight, though. Great scrap between the two of them. It was a good card. Steve Garcia versus Seung-Woo Choi. Logic prevailed. Seung-Woo Choi gets too scrappy, starts trading hooks on the inside with his chin up in the air because, of course, he's a national Muay Thai champion. So, of course, he stuck his chin up in the air, swinging hooks back and forth. But luckily, I picked Steve Garcia this time, so I'm not going to cope about it the whole time. Steve Garcia puts him away, wobbles him on the feet. Seung-Woo Choi, Korean Muay Thai national champion multiple times. Just swinging like an idiot in the pocket with his chin way open. So, he got chinned by Steve Garcia. He got chinned pretty bad. Steve Garcia failed to take down early. Both guys started landing a few here and there, and then Garcia wobbled him and put him away and TKO'd him with back of the head shots. It is what it is. Seung-Woo Choi loses. Awful performance. Again, the Korean national Muay Thai champ just chin as high as possible in the air, swinging back and forth like he has no idea what he's doing. So, really tough to watch for Koreans on this card, other than Doohoo Choi getting a win. They all really fumbled. So, Amanda Lemos versus Virna Jandiroba. I went with Virna Jandiroba. Not a lot of people went with Virna Jandiroba here. I saw a lot of people going with Lemos because of her power. But if you know by watching the Zhang Weili fight and some of her earlier fights in her career, ground game is, if she doesn't get the guillotine, the ground game is abysmal from Amanda Lemos. She actually looked a lot better in this fight. So she's clearly been working on it since the loss to Zhang Weili. But Virna Jandiroba put on a grappling clinic. They were scrambling back and forth. It was actually a really fun fight to watch. Even though, you got to hate on the women's main events. It is awful. There's no hype in the build-up. But they actually did have a pretty good performance against each other. A lot of choke attempts from Virna Jandiroba didn't go through. She tried a rear naked choke a few times that wouldn't quite get locked in. And then eventually she switched to an arm bar. I think she was also going for a knee bar at one point that looked like it was in, and then switched it to a heel hook. So there was a lot of grappling exchanges, a lot of scrambles, both people getting good positions. But Jandiroba stayed dominant and stayed one step ahead. So eventually Lemos just sort of didn't have the energy for it anymore, and rear naked choke, didn't get it, switched it to an armbar. Really nasty submission by Virna Jandiroba. And there was like an Asian woman that worked for the UFC in the background that was so fine. I need to see that again, because she was looking so good in the background. But yeah, great performance by Virna Jandiroba though, and probably a title shot on the horizon. So you know what to do, UFC. I'm saying, oh no, your PI meal tastes a bit funny. It might be the cyanide we put in there. No, I'm joking. Don't do that. But yeah, you can't let her near the belt. That is pay-per-view poison. So we'll see. Good performance by Virna Jandiroba though. She won the fight. She won it impressively. She got a finish, which is a big deal in a main event. So good for her. The main card was actually pretty fun. The whole card was quite good. The prelims, some letdowns, some dog shit fights here and there, but the main card was probably one of the better main cards of the year, I would say. See you later, guys. Thank you for watching. Toodle Pip. I'm going to go watch Jake Paul versus Mike Perry. Goodbye.